Welcome to Messages from the Universe with Laurie Wondra. Laurie is an internationally renowned psychic medium, author, and shamanic practitioner, sharing insights from angels, guides, wisdom keepers, and teachers of the universe that help you navigate life's mysteries and transformations.
Hello, I'm Laurie Wondra, and thank you for listening. Recently, I had an opportunity to visit Joshua Tree National Park located in California, and I spent time sitting in the desert, and it took me back to probably 15 or more years ago where I spent a lot of time sitting in the desert, doing ceremony in the desert, sleeping in the desert. And I miss that. It's been a number of years since I've been able to visit that part of the United States or anywhere else in the world. But today I wanted to just share some of my experiences from sitting and listening and just being in the desert, listening closely to the whispers of the desert. The wild carries earth messages upon the wind, the clouds, the grains of sand. It's a reminder how small we are in the vastness of the world and certainly the vastness of the desert. How easily we can be moved by the winds of time. Humans represented like grains of sand scattered to the winds, looking for a safe place to land. Something to hold on to while the world whirls around us. Many of you might be feeling that now as the world is whirling around us. There's an unsettling. And as I found a rock to sit and to journal, I imagined all the trees here in Joshua Park as humans or beings of energy that are paused and they're studying me. And it began to feel a little bit creepy. I looked at their twists and unique turns like something from a Dr. Seuss book. Tree people, I can feel them, see their energy aura, which makes them more curious to me, curious to what their auras mean, similar to the celebrations of the rock people, or the energy that lives within rocks. The desert is home to fields of energy, and I feel very embraced by this energy. Now, pre-Joshua Tree, I found myself waiting at the airport for my child's flight to land. They live in Oregon, and we decided to meet there in the desert and spend time together. I went back to my old practices of aura watching, people aura watching. I hadn't done that in probably 10 or 15 years. And what would I find today? Stress, frustration, disappointment, exhaustion, anxiousness. Maybe I'd see happy, joyful, calm, or some excited people as they land and make their way to pick up their baggage. Whole auras or auras with holes in them had me wondering if the person was traveling to something or away from something. Where did those holes come from? What happened? I noticed how the energy of humans is different now than it was all those years ago when I would sit and study. Life seemed simpler then, though I know at that time we probably believed otherwise. As I sit now and breathe in this dry, heated air of 90-degree plus desert air, I go back to my focus on the trees and the rocks, and I study their auras. How different nature's aura is from the busy humans that I just witnessed in the airports. What say you, rocks and trees? What wisdom might you hold for this human that sits in your space? I connect with the root systems and the rocks and ponder the question of how they are feeling the movement of the tectonic plates, the 12 tectonic plates, and I am immediately hearing from them that I'm wrong, that number is wrong. There are actually over 60. And I later validated that as I did my research. I had been to a few of those iconic tectonic plates. Iceland which is uniquely located on the rift between the North American plate and the Eurasian tectonic plate. But there's also the African plate, the Antarctic plate, the Indo-Australian plate, which includes Australia and the Indian plate. And of course, the North American plate, which includes most of North America, Greenland, and even parts of Siberia. There's a Pacific plate, South American plate. There are also 15 minor plates, plus all the micro plates. So in total, there are well over 60 plates. So in my knowledge and being taught by the rocks, it's more than 12. Some more active than others. And as a side note, there were several felt earthquakes about 65 miles from us, and we were alerted to the activity in the area. Mother Earth is moving. The energy of Earth is moving, and I focus on the rocks in front of me, rising from the desert floor, pushed up from the pressure of Mother Earth. These rocks are of Cretaceous age, having been formed between 250 to 75 million years ago. Another prominent visible rock type in this area is much older, as a darker colored layered metamorphic rock, and that's been formed about 1.4 to 1.7 billion years ago. And as I sit with this ancient wisdom, my little speck of a human among these trees and rocks, I acknowledge the wisdom and the knowledge and the history that I'm sitting within. What journey have they been on? What journey will they continue as Mother Earth continues to move? And I wonder if they laugh at our human form. Do they laugh at our timelines and how we stress about an hour or a day? Some days I wish for patience of a rock. What is this magical land I sit, where the heat dries my breath and sizzles my skin, where there is nothingness in its silence, yet everything at the same time? And if not for this heat, I would probably sit and converse with the rocks and trees for hours. I pull a journal from my backpack and flip through older pages. I've noticed I've grabbed a really old, incomplete journal that has dates of desert hikes dating back to 2008, yet very applicable today. And I read one excerpt. Beginnings always follow an ending. Changes always follow a falling. We get up, we have a choice of moving onward or outward. We have peace or a choice of chaos or a choice of whatever it is we want it to be. We even have the choice to get up. We have peace as a choice. We have love as a choice. I am a choice. I am in this space of gratitude, peace, joy, and knowing that love comes to me, but peace also comes to me. Calm comes to me, and even knowledge of where, who, or what I am, because that also is choice. And to see it any other way is choice. And I sit and I ponder my words from years ago, and I still find this very applicable to where we are today. Our humanness has more choice now than in previous lifetimes, yet we often revert to the past of helplessness, fear, and sometimes even hiding. I will continue to use my voice where I know I have a choice, and I made a different choice, or I can make a different choice. I can stand firm in this, and the rocks agree. They have stood still and maintained the force against the winds of the desert. They have supported hikers, climbers, or people like me that are sitting and observing, tucked into a cove that provides a protection, but also a view. The trees around me sway in agreement. They remind me of the growth process, their slow growth. The average young Joshua tree grows at a rate of around 2 to 3 inches per year. But as the tree matures, it grows slower. Its growth rate slows down significantly. And when it reaches maturity, which is typically around 50 to 60 years of age, its growth rate decreases to about 1 inch or less per year. Sounds like us, right? We move fast, grow fast, approach life fast until we reach about 50 or 60 and we begin to feel the slowing. Still growing, yet at a slower pace. We have scars and twists and turns like many of the trees I see around me. And here in Joshua Tree, the trees twist and turns and it makes them almost look cartoonish, but with character and magical, whimsical movement. Our life twists and turns aren't so publicly displayed, but hidden within our mind and our emotions. The experiences that we've had that have shaped our beings to the point of who we are today. I focus on a tree to my left that has a number of large branches broken, and I wonder, what storm, what event happened here? What happened to you, tree? Where other trees in the same area seem unaffected? Why is this tree and not others? Why have you felt the impact of the wind? What weakness might you have or had been there that was impacted and not the other trees? And like humans, what events impact one but not others? What predispositions might we have to face certain hurdles that others seem to be able to bypass? I notice the spacing of the trees. Why do they grow so far apart? Why are there no seedlings or little trees beneath their trunks? Where water is scarce, like here in the desert, this is a living plan so that all they have is what they need. If there were too many trees together, they would all die. Do the strongest take the source? And is that why these particular trees are here? Of course it is, I hear. Is that what humans do? Only the strongest that take survive? I find myself uncomfortable with that question. And where we are in today's environment where power seems to be in the hands of a few and we've forgotten the power of many. I study the structure of the bark or the covering of the tree and ponder, is it more like a cactus or more like a tree that can be measured by its growth rings? Perhaps these trees have more twists and turns with age as their branches grow heavy. And I take in the landscape and marvel at the diversity of the desert. At first glance, hot and dry and dead, but upon connection and questions and pondering what is around me, I see so much is alive. In the stillness of everything, there is really no stillness. There might be quietness, but there's always movement. As I'm alerted by the crow that suddenly caws above me, I notice a small desert lizard has now taken shade near my feet. When did he arrive? He rests there for a while. I sit very still, not to disturb him, until he decides it's time to move on. As I watch him dart across the desert sand, he blends into his surroundings until I can no longer see him, as he's become one with the desert, leaving and coming without a trace. And at this time, I'm reminded of the importance of observation, quietness, stillness, and openness to just experience without expectation. Just be curious. This is the message of the desert today. The trees and the rocks and the critters that live here, be aware, be observant, be alert. When is the last time you sat in quiet thought, blended with your environment and surroundings, undisturbing to what is around you, and just allowed something of that space to interact with you, to be with you? You might be listening and thinking, I'm crazy talking to trees and rocks and connecting with the grains of sand of the desert. But everything is energy, and if we understand we are energy, and we can interact with the energy of everything. And yet we forget that. We forget that where we walk or where we sit is always in interaction with the energy of that spot. Where we are now, in this time, in this space, in this year, is an interaction with the energy of where we are. I realized as I was sitting here, it had been far too long for me to be sitting in the desert, the quietness, the heat, and just observing. The messages of nature are important to us. They teach, they interact. The joy that we get from them and the joy that they get from us in that energetic interaction. So today I invite you to join me in a practice of just sitting, being in nature, being in quiet, no phone. I didn't have any cell phone reception. With intent, sitting in quiet, understanding your energy in that space is interacting with the energy around you. Noticing everything, whether you think it is still or dead or silent, it is interacting with you. Practice this and let me know how it goes, what you've learned or experienced, who spoke to you. And as I continue to decide that I need more time in thought and being, I need more time to be curious. It's an interaction with an energy that sometimes we get very disconnected from. Be blessed, be curious. And you might be wondering, what did I see in the auras of the rocks and the trees and even the lizard that was sitting at my feet? I saw beautiful colors in the energy. I watched the trees sway in the wind and seemingly connect with space. The energy waves reached out far beyond what I expected, and I felt them reach out to me and connect with my energy field. And the rocks felt like waves of energy. And for a moment, I thought I was feeling the tectonic plates, the movement and the vibration, and even the earthquakes that are happening. I felt, am I feeling this? Am I feeling it in my energy field? In all, the auras were very whole, complete, beautiful, beautiful colors, no stress, no holes, no odd shapes or grayness, but vibrancy. And I realized that's probably what I'm capturing when I often take photos of rocks and trees and I get a pink haze. And for years I thought maybe it was angelic beings, or maybe it was an ancestor or someone that had walked that land before. But today I also had a realization it could be all of those, but it could also be the aura of the land or the aura of the tree or the aura of the rock. And just simply sitting there and being silent and connecting, I was becoming part of that energy field, just as all of the desert was becoming part of me. We're energy, and energy ebbs and flows, and it moves through us and around us and is part of us. So again, I encourage you to be curious, be open, find a place that you can sit quietly and connect, experience vibration and frequency and Mother Nature in a different way. I'm Laurie Wondra of Your Life Core, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Messages from the Universe. For information about Laurie Wondra's current events or to schedule a private session, visit her website, yourlifecore.com. You can also subscribe to her monthly newsletter. Laurie also shares inspirational and informational messages on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening.